August 9th, 2023. My name is John Harrington. I'm the President Council. Seated up front here are council members, our city auditor, Jim Stashak, Rob Martin, our service safety director, and Jeremy Kalb, our city engineer, and Don Rasmussen, our law director. A couple quick announcements before I turn this over to Mr. Welpser. On tonight's agenda, there are two items. One is the Carlin Street or Avenue property, and then also after that we are going to get a demonstration of the body worn cameras that the Findlay Police Department have recently activated. So we're going to get an update on that. There is no participation from the public, so don't interrupt or you'll be asked to leave. I don't mean to be that way, but this is a committee of the whole of City Council. With that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Jeff Welpser, who called the meeting. Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today we call this the initial part of the meeting to discuss the two pieces of property that the mayor put a letter in our packet on the August 1st meeting that is looking at or asking us to consider donating two pieces of property to Habitat for Humanity. And she is asking that letter to call a committee of the whole meeting. So I did. And I've been told that our safety service director will probably head this up. Is that correct?
I can introduce as well as anyone, so.
Our microphones are back on now, so.
Yeah, so.
And then we've got Wendy McCormick is here from Habitat. And as the president said, unfortunately, in a committee of the whole meeting, we don't have audience participation or questions, but if this gets to a ordinance type situation, we'll go through all the process. You'll have plenty of time for community input in those three-meeting process.
So, it's a formality of getting called on, but thank you, Councilman Welpser. That was the one point I did want to make is this will go through the vetting process, planning commission, and so forth and so on, all the way to council. So there'll be plenty of time for that, conversations and questions there. I think you did a nice job with the intro to this. The mayor did have a very thorough letter in council packet, and I don't want to take away any time from Wendy and the Habitat team so to provide your presentation. So when you're ready, if you want to present, it's all yours. The floor is yours.
Good evening. You might want to push that button. Good evening. That was the first test. Thanks for the opportunity to address the council administration this evening and the invitation here tonight. I don't have the heavy lift. Wendy will be with you here momentarily. I did want to introduce on behalf of our group that's here tonight, Habitat for Humanity. We'll talk to you and tell you
extreme community need. So as you know, with inflation going up and interest rates going up, it's making it harder and harder for first-time home buyers to get into a home of their own. Not to mention just for families every day to be able to live. We have so many families that are in our pipeline. We received over 94 applications just in 2023. The average family is in our program for a little over 18 months. So I have so many stories for you of my home that I'm renting is being sold to an absentee landlord. They're going to double my rent in order to kick me out. I can't afford to put food on my table as well as afford this rent. I can't even save, let alone try to pay for where I'm at. So 8,000 people in our community are choosing daily for how they're going to spend what limited funds they have. Is it food? Is it utilities? Forget savings. So it's been a real challenge. The Housing Coalition, of which I chair, completed a housing study in partnership with regional planning and the city of Findlay to take a look at what those real deficits were. And the one that's most relevant to the work that Habitat does is a 250 housing unit deficit in single-family homes in our community for entry-level housing. Entry-level housing, families making about $35,000 a year, a little less than $17 an hour. So the costs are going up. It's more and more challenging for families to find places to live. In the housing study, it stated 97% occupancy rate for rentals. So even if a family is able to save some funds, it's very challenging for them to find a place to live. Our goal, as Scott said, is everyone has the right to a decent place to live that they can actually afford to live and live a life. We've built 55 homes since 2000 in our founding, and those homes are all within the county. We have 4 outside the city of Findlay limits, so most of our work has been with you within the city of Findlay. And please let me say thank you at this time for donating the permits to all of those homes since our inception that have been taking place right here in the city of Findlay. That's a critical partnership that we couldn't do without you. These are not Section 8 homes. These families are not Section 8 eligible. There is nothing involved with Section 8 housing or HUD housing. Our families are working families. This is workforce housing. And we'll talk a little bit about what some of those families do and that they are just trying to provide a safe place for themselves and for their children to raise. Most of our families are first-time home buyers. So what's a better way to stabilize a family than to own a home? We want to break that generational cycle of poverty and help them get out of that, build some net worth, build some equity, and help become productive members within our community. So a home is an amazing way to help them be able to do that. We'll put a family in a home for around $650 a month. That includes their mortgage payment, that includes their property taxes, that includes their insurance. The average home rental right now is around $800 to $1,000. So right away, even by putting them in a Habitat home, we are freeing up over $300 of disposable income to help them be more stable and take care of themselves and be productive members of society. These are just a few pictures of our families, just to give you an idea that our families work very, very hard. I always like to speak, it doesn't matter where I'm at, that these are not free homes. We do not give homes away. They will be taking out a mortgage with Habitat for Humanity. We serve as their bank, and they will take out a 30-year mortgage with us and pay that back. What's nice is they're making their payments back to Habitat for Humanity. They're very motivated to do that because they know those payments help to serve more families in the future. So we provide a 0% interest. Keep that from your bank. So, and it makes it affordable for the family to be able to be in that home. The other key part that makes it affordable is because building is not cheap. Our costs have gone up over 28% the last 3 years. And you'll find that there's a lot of developers that can't even look at this entry-level housing for development. So if not Habitat building these homes, then who? So we really need these entry-level market homes. The pipeline from the housing study shows that we're backed up. Homes between 200 and 300,000 are being, there's not enough of those available. So individuals that can afford the $200,000 and $300,000 homes are living in these entry-level homes, backing up the pipeline and the opportunities for people to enter So we need to open up the entire market base of housing in order to free up that pipeline. And Habitat is your developer that can do that at that entry level price right now, where a lot of other developers can't touch that. We had a great opportunity to visit with the Home Builders Association and just ask, you know, where are you building? What are you seeing? What are you doing? What are your visions? What are your dreams? Would this be a conflict? And the Home Builders Association is extremely supportive and a partner with Habitat. We are members of that, and they said they can't touch entry-level housing right now due to the cost of land, which is our challenge also, as well as the cost of materials, and make a profit. So they have to pay labor. We keep it affordable because we use 300 volunteers in order to build that property. So we make dreams happen for these beautiful families with your help. And there's so many more families, as I mentioned, that are working so hard in order to become homeowners. And I think, again, that's one of the biggest messages I want to get across, is our families have to, they work about $17 an hour is our average family. They're making, like, on average, about $35,000 a year. We have manufacturing represented. We have people from the service industry. All of our families are working families who just want a safe place to call their own. 70% of our families are single parents, and 25% have been married since moving into their homes. And they've overcome so many challenges in their life. Having not enough income to get by and do things makes life really, really hard. And they not only are working full-time and raising a family, again, many of them single parents, but now we ask them to contribute between 400 and 600 volunteer hours in order to build their own homes, go through all their financial education and coaching, and that calculates to about 8 additional hours a week. So I challenge all of us to find another 8 hours in our week in order to volunteer and be a part of. So our families are extremely resilient and work very, very hard. These are just some of our requirements, but I can tell you that, again, we just had a homeowner that we built for this spring whose home went through a tornado. Roof was ripped off. She made the front page of the newspaper, and she came in hopeful that our critical home repair program could fix her house, and it was not rehabable. So we put her right away into the home repair program, and she had a mountain of debt and all kinds of challenges working against her, and she was homeless. She was going to have to live with friends and family. And she put her nose to the grindstone. She met with our Financial Opportunity Center, which are financial coaches, started her financial education, and just started saving money like crazy and paying off all that debt because she knew her and her daughter needed a place to live. And so we're very, very excited that just a year later we were able to close on her home, and she's been there for about 30 days and stable, safe, and ready to move on with the next stage of her life. So what was completely a disaster, literally, has turned into a gift and a blessing, and we're so excited to have her in her home. As I mentioned, our homeowners spend a good 2 years with us. So we have 24 family advocates that walk with families. All of them are volunteers. We also have 3 financial coaches that meet with all our families and make sure they have a readiness for homeownership. And then they also pay a $500 down payment towards their home. And then we protect all that equity through a mortgage process. So they cannot flip that home, sell that home within the first 10 years, or take advantage of the donations that were made from the community or from the volunteers. And really, as if you talk to any one of our homeowners, I just want a safe place for my kids. And that's really what this comes down to. And there's so many studies done that if a family has a home, teen pregnancy rates go down, school grades go up, graduation rates go up. All the issues that young folks are having these days are reduced. Do they go away? Absolutely not. Life happens to our families. And what's very special is Habitat is in it for the long haul. They're for a mortgage for 30 years. So we're going to walk beside them when life happens. We had a family who was 39 years old, and mom took care of everything. And mom, unfortunately, died suddenly from a brain aneurysm in the home. So we had to step in, re-educate dad and how to take care of his 4 kids. And I said, we're going to do this together. And we walked beside him for the next 10 years until all those kids graduated.
So it's really, we're not leaving our families alone. We want to make sure they're successful, and we want to make sure that they're paying back their mortgage. This is what our homes look like. This is one of our standard homes. We will build a home to the needs of the family, including ADA compliance or otherwise. But our standard home is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath with attached garage. We build energy efficient homes using 2x6 lumber and walls and extra insulation. We do a fortified roof to withstand high winds. We used tankless hot water heaters and other ways, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to build a home for a family if they can't afford to run the home. So we do a lot of energy efficient implementation into the home. We also want the family to stay there for a long time. So all our doors are at least 36 inches wide. We want it to be easily converted for them to age in place where they are. So that brings us to, we need land in order to serve more of these families that are obviously in need. And as mentioned by Scott, we have a land development committee that is constantly knocking on doors and researching, and we found your land out on Carlin and wanted to do a feasibility study. I get lots of calls from folks that say, hey, do you want my lot? There's usually a reason they want to donate it. So we always put it through the land development committee and make sure it's feasible for us to build on. So we have done an initial feasibility study with the help of Dan Stone from Van Horn Hoover, just to make sure it was workable plan. That plan can be modified, changed. We just wanted to make sure it was feasible for us to even come and talk to you about that property. As mentioned by Scott, we're doing a 10-year build out and 68 homes could be built. Currently, we're building 4 new homes a year. And so this would take us to that next step of building at least 6 new homes a year. And we'd be ready to do that starting in 2025. There's a lot of infrastructure needs in the area. We'd have to put in all that infrastructure. We build homes really, really well. We have a standard home process. We know what we're doing there. We would be reaching out to expertise on the development side to help us with all the infrastructure. So, and formulate some new partnerships to do that piece. That would be new for us. We know that. So we're going into that knowing that we're going to seek some additional partnerships to help us with that. A pocket neighborhood, really, how do we create some green space? How do we create a playground? How do we create on the tables for consideration as a community center? We've been listening to some of the folks around the community already who just think some of those things are really important, and so do we. We invested initially in West Park when we first started building our homes in the area. Including we had a neighborhood survey, we did a neighborhood picnic because we wanted to invest in the playground that's out in West Park. So in 2010, in our 10th anniversary, we invested almost $25,000 in the playground. We built a new shelter, we put in new playground equipment, and since we've mulched and done some other work. But it's important to us that the neighborhood is welcoming for families and that it maintains its wonderful charm and character. We love West Park. This is how much we love West Park. We have actually 24 homes already in the West Park area. You can see where Hope Springs is, and all the yellow dots are actually where we already currently have those homes. And again, I mentioned the West Park playground that we'd like. We are really open to building another playground in Hope Springs, should the community advise us that that's something they desire. We know our families would love it, but we want to make sure it's the best use of space and really listen to our neighbors about what their concerns are. This is, again, just the feasibility study. You can see in phase 1 that there's a large retention pond that's needed. If you guys didn't know, there's a lot of bedrock in West Park. So we have to make sure that there's appropriate drainage, and otherwise all of that initial structure, drainage, detention, et cetera, has been initially mapped out, again, with the help of Van Horn Hoover. And again, this is just an initial feasibility study. We look forward to having more conversations with our neighbors and what they would desire and what they would like to see. But our goal, of course, is to serve as many families as possible, and how can we do that? So, Scott, you want to talk a little bit about land development? You want me to just pop in and cover it?
Well, just real quick.
So the previous slide, this is, I don't think you mentioned, Wendy, we have been studying this for probably over 12 months. Dan Stone had been critical in the development and the feasibility piece of this, helping us with the phase out, helping us with the infrastructure. So we're going to say it's high level, but to be clear, we dipped our toe into the weeds enough to understand to get a good marker on the site infrastructure. As Wendy said, we think, humbly submitted, that we are really good at building affordable homes. We're not going to start trying to be a developer, so we know that we have to bring in those core competencies, and we've had a lot of discussions in the rears about who that might be and locally and how that's going to work. As you saw before, the phase piece, the phase one is very much on purpose, which up front takes on most of the infrastructure costs, which then we benefit from in phase 2, 3, and 4 because it's already completed. What we have found at Habitat, and most recently, starting out, we were single site, single home, build in place. Years ago, kind of had our wings clipped to two at a time because we were bifurcated. And most recently, we've been building 2 homes at a time. We experience immense cost efficiencies and build efficiencies when we do that. That had led into, with some research across the nation, we really need to take advantage of that in a bigger way, coalescing with the deficit that we have in affordable homes. So that is what led us to this 4-phased approach. And if we can see our way forward with this, I think it could be modified for sure, but we've at least spent a lot of hours on getting it here, and so much that we know have a pretty good beat on what it's going to cost us from an infrastructure standpoint. That is that $2.9 million. And again, 4-phased approach, and that includes a 10% contingency. The other part, we have a build out of a 10-year cash flow model, inflows, outflows, down to the really to the specific expenses, including the build out of a playground and a build center, which would then maybe be converted to a community center, all of which a detail we'd be happy to share with you. But the largest expense in this program is largely home building, and it's associated with the 68 homes, which we do every day. That's us. We fund those houses, as Wendy explained. So that is the lion's share of this project. But certainly we recognize the upfront cost of the $2.9 million in development.
So we're open for questions. Would love to have that. Thank you so much for your consideration of the donation. And again, we understand that would have to go through the Blanchard Port Authority. We have met with Dan Schaefer, which was a wonderful conversation. He's already taken it to his board for the Port Authority, and they are amenable to those continued conversations. As I mentioned, we met with the Home Builders Association, and then I've also provided you a couple of letters of recommendation from realtors who have done some assessment of what 68 homes might have as an impact on the community, the neighborhood, and et cetera. And all of them are endorsing this. I think, again, the overwhelming response is, when can you get started? So it's the need is there. And land is our biggest barrier, and you can help us remove that barrier.
Mr. Hellman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. McCormick, as you know, I have left some sweat on your projects in the past and have been a big supporter of Habitat. This, however, is a big ask. I don't think we've had anybody come in here and ask us to donate that kind of equity. That doesn't mean that I'm against it or anything like that, but I would like to know, I have a couple questions. Are you able to do this and get the donations that you need to build it? I know Lowe's, Whirlpool, I think Whirlpool does it, but internationally in terms of donating appliances and things like that. Are you able to sustain those kinds of donations?
Sure. So we would be taking our current model, which is 4 homes a year, fully funded, and elevate that to 6 homes a year. So as Scott said, that's kind of what we do every day. So we would have to continue to work that fundraising. We rely on individuals, we rely on corporations. We have a church build starting this fall. We have a full home being built by Marathon this fall. So we rely on those partnerships. Those partnerships are critical. That's the only way we'll be able to go from 4 to 6 homes a year. We are asking for assistance for some of the infrastructure. Mayor has been researching and hopes that there might even be some ways and means that I'm not privy to yet to help us with some of that infrastructure. That would be the biggest concern, is raising that initial $3 million through however way, shape, and form. And we'd have to get busy on grant writing and such to be able to do that. So I'm confident we can raise enough money to build the 6 homes a year. We're going to need partnerships in order to fund the $3 million infrastructure.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was my second question. Where does the 2.9 million come from?
Yes.
On top of the
Yeah.
initial ask? Right?
Yes.
You're working on that.
We needed to ask you for the land, so we wanted to start with one foot in front of the other.
All right.
But there has been some research that Mayor has been doing at the state level to see if there's opportunities for us to write some grants to get the infrastructure covered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Russell?
A question actually to Jeremy. What's, from our infrastructure standpoint of water, sanitary, would we need to be looking at anything to support this level of additional housing?
So sanitary right now, we can reach out to that point. There is a spot where it can be pretty much extended out to that. So this actually, coincidence happens, but we had that Moracle water line project last year that we actually pushed back because we had a different need. Well, you guys will see a letter for that, but I'm going after OPWC money to extend that water line. Planning on doing that anyways, but what that's doing is we're going to be extending a 12-inch water line from, let's say, I-75, where it comes underneath, all the way down to Lima Avenue, which would be a good point that they would be able to tie on to extend over to this property. That will help with kind of moving water flow through there right now, because right now we just have a 6-inch that's feeding through there. So we do have some problems with moving water through that area. So getting that 12-inch down there will help with the turnover through there. I have that OPWC project in right now. So even if this project doesn't go through, I'm still planning on extending that water line down through there. But it's kind of best of both worlds that they will be able to utilize that, and it will help out with that whole area as well.
And do we do storm at all in that area? Storms? When
we do like rebuilding of the total reconstructions, like Logan Avenue is one we just did. We do put storm in as part of that. There's storm sporadic throughout that area, but years ago they did a big study on how the storm system would look, from point A all the way to the back. With that, we have what the rock elevations are, what the boring looks like in that area, and ultimately what our storm would look like in that area. Looking at kind of what they're designed and how they would be doing their detention pond and stuff, they would have to pretty much output their storm water, contain all their storm water, and output to the rate what they are right now. So it'd be still a very low type area. With Carlin, there's a lot of swales that are down through there that would actually help move the water to the appropriate area where it wouldn't need as much storm on our side. I think the biggest thing would be, like I said, water, of getting that extended down so that way we can complete some loops through there.
Mr. Wobser?
Matt Cadanya, does this meet our requirements for R3 density with 68 houses in this space?
Do me a favor, Matt, just introduce yourself real quick.
Matt Credonnier, Director of Regional Planning. So the minimum lot size for an R3 structure is 3,500 square feet. It's very small, and it's designed to be that way. So, yes, the density does work. The northern parcel is zoned R1, and so I would anticipate that going from R1 single family to R3 single family.
Okay. So, Wendy, I struggle with this too. I think it's a pretty big ask of the taxpayers to turn over this much property for $1. You mentioned that the Home Builders Association was in favor of this. I will tell you, I've had a couple of home builders contact me and said, hey, if you'll give me property, I can build houses too. And I think that if they had that ability to have free land, they also could build affordable houses in the style that you're looking at. So the question comes back to me, is this the best use for council? I mean, if indeed our goal is to do what the city can do to help build affordable housing or housing of this type, is this the best way to go about it? So what's your thoughts with that?
Sure. Good questions. Everyone would love free land. It is a huge barrier and a huge challenge. We're Habitat for Humanity. This is what we do. And partnership is what we do. And we can't do it without that. So yes, it is a very large ask. We're not shy about that. But we need to make an impact within the city of Findlay on workforce housing. If we don't start addressing that, it's part of our forward plan that's being presented to making sure this is a great place to work and live. And right now we have 25,000 people commuting into town that can't find a place to live. So we're willing to present you this plan. We feel strong about it. We have a very strong track record on what we do and what we say we're going to do, and then we do it. And we just really believe that we also bring forward some very qualified homeowners that are ready to purchase and have been working towards that. So our home builders have to usually find a buyer. We're coming forward with buyer ready. So that's kind of also what differentiates us. We would not be shy about talking about the city of Findlay's contribution to the projects. And every single major corporation in this community that's trying to find and build their workforce is in support of trying to get more people in our community that can live, work, and play. So it's going to take a multi-pronged approach. If you guys would choose to donate some more land, I'm sure developers would start going. But from listening to housing coalition discussions, there's not a lot of developers due to the costs and the interest rates right now that are considering Findlay. So it's really a high need. We're raising our hand and saying we're ready, and that we're ready to pull the trigger and go. So that's how I would answer that.
Will you still want us to do the other things that we've done for your builds in the past?
Absolutely. Right now we have
donate
an approval.
Permits, all things like that.
Absolutely.
So those additional costs on top of that.
Correct. Right now we have a standing approval from City Council to donate permits up to 6 homes a year. So we wouldn't be asking for a change. It's already written in there. And again, I think the return on investment has been demonstrated that our goal is to create a little bit of an annuity for you of property taxes into the future that will help generate back that income.
Well, the county appreciates the property tax, as do the schools. The city does not directly. We don't get those taxes.
Understood.
So that doesn't help us recoup our cost in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Russell?
Wendy, do you have examples of Habitat doing this kind of development in other communities and any other communities that demographically size up to Findlay?
I would have to confirm the demographic comparison, but there is many friends of Habitat around the country. Berks County, there's one in Colorado that I've gotten samples, models, and information from, so I can use the resources of being part of a national organization in order to pull those resources in to help us.
Do you know how old those communities?
There's some being built right now. Some are on their 6th development. So there's different habitats that are in a lot of different phases.
So
I'm
then-
happy to share them with you.
So then you have you see how the neighborhood develops over 5-10 years or
Yeah.
something.
Mm-hmm.
What if this neighborhood gets built? What's it looking like in 10 years? Do you think?
So I will just use West Park right now. I think all but 2 of the 24 homeowners are still in their homes, caring for their homes, and want to stay. I mean, these are families that have invested so much work in order to achieve this dream of homeownership that they want to reinvest in their community. They want to be part of that community. They want to do better and do well for their family. Life happens to all our families. So again, we will continue to support them over that 30-year period. We also have a vested interest. So we carry the mortgage on those. Those are assets for our organization that stabilize our organization. So we have a vested partnership and interest in making sure that they're successful and that those homes stay in good condition. I know we built in the backyard of Councilman Bauman's home there at Baker's Acres, and we have an open conversation and dialogue, which is if we can be of any assistance to help you navigate conversations, relationships with the homeowners, please allow us the opportunity. We are not their landlord. Let me be really clear about that. So, but we do hold liens on those properties in order to try and create some leverage to make sure that they're maintained. We also have different language built into those mortgage notes in order to protect that process. So they're pretty detailed. So we work really, really hard to make sure we keep open dialogue with our families as well as the community to try to make sure it's well taken care of. We're a fairly young organization. We started building house number 1 in 2000. So we have a 20-year track record here. It's not 100%, but we are proud of our homeowners and our homes.
Mr. Wobser.
Wendy, does the project economics on this only work with a 0 property cost?
So it sure helps. We have, $3 million we need to raise just in infrastructure. And then we need to continue to raise those funds that we do every single day to keep the organization moving forward. So it is a way that you can help contribute to those overhead costs. Would this be off the table if you didn't donate? We need land in order to continue to grow and serve families. So we're going to continue to search for opportunities to be able to do this.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Bauman.
Wendy, some of the more preliminary things that I'm hearing out there is that what effect would this have on our property values? I was kind of interested to learn that it's actually the opposite. They go up, not down. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Absolutely. New construction has that effect on any community. So the more new construction that's in the area, that's where all the appraisals are done. That's where all the comparisons are done. We do get appraisals on all our homes before we sell them. And I can tell you that they're appraising at $25,000 over our costs. So we know, and actually it's become a challenge. It's not only a challenge for our families here in Findlay, but on a statewide level. I'm part of a statewide coalition, and we're hearing the same things, that because of, the real estate market's crazy. You get bids, 10 bids over asking price. And so all of our property values are going up. Well, that translates to increased property taxes. Some of our families we've had to really work with and on those property tax increases because their values are going up so much. If our Habitat homes in West Park are going up, I can only assume that all the community is increasing as all of our property values are increasing. So a positive impact. Home ownership in general has a very positive impact on the entire community, not just the neighborhood that it's in. When you have people vested in where they're at, these people own their home. Our families take a lot of pride of home ownership and want to do well. They don't always have the tools for how to do well and what that means. And again, we're not leaving them out there on their own. When they run into those challenges or bumps, we're going to be there to help them. We're not saying we're not going to have any bumps. I can only imagine. But we really know that homeownership makes a difference for the entire community, the more folks we have vested in their neighborhoods.
Mr. Russell.
Rob, do we have like an appraisal? Do we have an appraisal on this property, or have we ever done any preliminary thoughts of selling it? And so we have a value, understand a value of what this, what kind of money we're talking about?
So this is really the first time since it was originally talked about that we've talked about selling it, to my knowledge. I do have the appraisals from the auditor's website, the most recent land values, and that's all I have to go on at this point, because we wanted to see how things would gain traction if they would. So we can definitely get that, but I just have values from the auditor's website.
So we would think that would be part of our part of the inputs that, I mean, that's one of the things I'd want to have as an idea of what the value of that property is, and if it's zoned R1, R2, or R1, R3. I mean, obviously, I think long-term, Matt, we were always looking at this as a housing
Right.
location.
That's how it's,
Okay.
Yeah, and again, I'd have to get fair market value comps to look at the appraisal value of that, and we just haven't gone there.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I thank you for coming this evening. It's very interesting. I'm not sure I can tell you what the next step will be, but we'll let you know.
Great. Thank you so much all for your time and consideration. Have a good night.
Thank you.
I invite any of the public that was here for this, you're welcome to leave now, or you can stick around. We're going to talk about the body-worn cameras, and the police will be here. We'll give you a 10-minute head start. Is that enough?
Chief
All right,
Matthias,
thank you.
Chief Matthias will be walking over just in a minute.
Are you ready?
if you're ready, sir.
I think everybody's back. You guys ready for Chief? Go for it, bud.
Well, I appreciate you letting us interrupt your meeting for this presentation, but we wanted to at least give you a brief overview as far as the camera system. We are all trained up and ready to go, so we would, I guess, wanted to make sure that you guys had all the information that you needed prior to rolling it out and getting with the mayor and Service Director Rob Martin to make sure that we let the public know. I mean, we want to make sure we're doing things the right way, and I think that's a big step moving forward, letting the public know what we're equipped with, what we want to do, what we want to accomplish, and meet the goals of the department. So, again, Axon is the system that we went with. It's called the Body 3, which was basically just the style. Before we get too far, Sergeant Walters is our administrative sergeant, so he used to be road sergeant on different shifts, but he's going to be the day-to-day operation of not just the body cams, but also Tyler Tech, all of our back end, basically another IT guy for us for the department. So does an excellent job. He's going to be the day-to-day operation for the redaction, retention, all that good stuff on the back end. So very glad that we have him on staff and that. There's other people that he's going to be relying on when he's not here to backfill his position, but he'll kind of run through the presentation itself. But the good news is we're locked into a 5-year contract. The first year is not completely paid for, but the grant that we applied for and was awarded, we have $91,926.89 coming back to us. Supposedly the check's in the mail, but you know how that goes. But we have everything submitted on our end for the grant, and supposedly they should be cutting us that check any day. So that'll be nice to get that back to city funds, and then the rest of the project moving forward. The body cams was what the grant was set up for. The whole package was with the fleet, with the actual patrol cars. Initially, we was told that was going to be delayed for almost a year. About 2 months ago now, they arrived with all the packages and says, here it is. And I was like, well, that's great, but we didn't count on the money. So the put us in a little bit of a situation. We got a hold of our rep. He was surprised that it shipped out. Allegedly, they was behind on shipping and handling, and with all the orders coming through with all these type of grants across the country and maybe across the world, they were just backlogged that far. But we was given a couple promises of, or a couple options of what to do, and we decided the best option is to keep the equipment here, wait till 24 till we have it in the budget, and then pay for it, get the cameras and the equipment installed in the cruisers,
and then we'll be fully operational with all the equipment come probably late winter, early spring of '24 and that. So this will get us a great start. This will capture most of everything. It won't capture a lot of the driving violations just due to the angle of the body-worn camera itself, but once we have the full fleet in force, it'll be a nice system and that. So I'm gonna let Sergeant Walters go through the demo. If you need any numbers, I have that as far as the contract, but I think the demo goes across some of the features. We brought some of the cameras if you want to do hands-on.
Yeah, these are gonna be the body cams that you guys wanna test them around and take these off.
You want one too?
I got a real short, slide presentation that I can, I'm gonna go over with you guys, and I'll explain all these. And this is one of the styles of mount. If you wanna look at this, is a magnetic mount, and that's what's holding mine on right here. And you can see how, it's a pretty sturdy one, but the guys who wear the exterior vest use a different kind of, kind of snaps in their vest better. But did you guys want to see some things too? So this piece of plastic is the charging dock that we use, and when we plug this into power and to internet, when they dock their cameras, it charges them and it uploads any videos that are on the camera. Because when they're out day to day, it records and stores it on the body cam itself, and then when they dock it, it uploads it to the cloud.
Question, yeah. Otherwise I'll forget. I assume this is a given, but I assume there's no way for them to erase anything on that while they're wearing it, like before it gets back to be downloaded.
Yes, there is no way. There's no way. I have the highest level of permissions in the system, and I can't even delete videos.
Well, I assume that should be a given, but it just was a question.
We have, the only way to delete videos, and this is a chain of custody thing, and then through the state of Ohio, the retention schedules that we have, the only way they can be deleted is they pass the deadline for the retention schedule. So we have different types for different scenarios we keep for a certain amount of time. Accidental recordings we only keep for like 30 days, and training videos only for 60 days. And, you know, we have a time schedule for that. And once it meets that in the evidence.com, which is provided by Axon, then those videos are deleted.
Just for council's benefit, there's a records retention board, the mayor and myself, the law director, and I think one of the members are on it. Those have to actually be approved by that board also before the deletion occurs, even though they've gone beyond the date. So we get a filing of all date.
I just have one more I thought of when we were starting to talk about this. Does someone gonna have a job of having to watch everything that's on here, or do you only look at it if there's you think there's something to see?
The way Axon has set it up, they call it performance review, and it's on that evidence.com, and it is set up. I went in and set up our sergeants.
Sergeant, I was just informed, we are being recorded, and so I need you to step up to the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And also, anybody to speak, would you make sure you use your microphone? Thank you.
Oh, my apologies. Huh?
Yeah, make sure the mic's on, there should be a red
I think
button
it's on.
there.
I think it's on. Yeah, there you go. So, so the performance review is, all the sergeants were set up as reviewers for their shifts, and then all the officers were set up on these shifts in the evidence.com website. And then what it does is we set it up where they have to watch a certain number of random videos in a month's time, and it emails them and says, you don't have enough videos that you've reviewed. And then they review them, they critique them, good job, bad job, you forgot to do this, you didn't do this, or you did this, really good job. And then when the sergeant approves that, it sends the officer an email, and then it sends the lieutenant an email that their performance review was done. So that's how that's taken care of. It's a random done, and we set the number at, I forget what it is, five. So, and we may tweak that number, increase it or whatever down the road, depending on how we doing, but it's all new to all of us.
Just to add to that, on top of the randomness of an audit, if you will, though, obviously they will validate scenarios that come up. If even in the trial period that we ran the three different versions of these devices, people would call up and say, hey, complain about an officer or whatever the case might be. And they're like, he was actually demoing a body camera. Let's validate that and let's hold them accountable. And they're like, either A, it was unfounded, or B, they were quick to say, oh, they had a body camera. Never mind. So that might not always be the case, but again, so it's not just a random audit. I mean, obviously, this is there for that reason, to be able to pull information or situations as well.
And and along those same notes, on that website where you view the videos, there is an audit history. So anytime somebody accesses a video for any reason, there is an audit trail, and that can't be deleted, and it can be taken into court, and the court can see how often this video was reviewed, and somebody can be questioned about it if it was reviewed too many times or not enough times. So all of those safeguards are there.
When does the camera come on when the officer has it?
So right now, because we don't have the dash cams, the fleet system installed, 90% of the recordings are going to be manually done by the officer. And the policy we have out is any call for service, you're going to record your interaction with the public. And anytime that they're recording, if there are certain cases where they may need to talk about something tactically, they can stop their body cams if they give a reason on the camera audibly, say, I have to stop my cam to talk to, the sergeant about tactics or something. But all of that is done manually by the officer, and by policy, it's any call for service that we have any interaction with the public. It's anything that could turn out to be evidentiary down the road. That's when we get down the road. There's also right now we have 10 new tasers, the Taser 7s. We only have 2 in service right now, but those are designed so anytime the tasers are pulled out of their holster and activated, not pulled the trigger, but just turned on, then it sends out a signal, and any body cam within 30 feet or so Bluetooth range will activate automatically. And that's anybody's, even state patrols if they're near. Yes. Those are the kind of things that we want on video. So yes, anytime we are dealing with any person of the public, either whether it's a self-initiated stop like that or they've called us, we're going to be recording.
Where you're losing me is that, Mr. Slough, please use your microphone. Thank you.
Let's just say you pulled somebody over and there was an issue with sobriety and you're wearing your body camera, okay?
Yes.
And the gentleman that you pull over and you're going to have them go through the exam is, say, 6'6", and you're what, 5?
Yeah, 5'7", yeah.
So how do you?
Well, and that's actually a pretty good question. And I'll show you some of this, and then I can show you on my phone. Our policy says you need to place the body cams on your uniform or your equipment so that you have the best view of what you see. And the body cams themselves are designed, they only record in 30 frames per second because the human eye, if you rated it in frames per second, is only 28 to 34 frames per second. So they don't want the camera to see more than you can see. They don't have IR lights like security cams do. They only record in 720 HD because you can't see in 4K HD. I apologize. I lost my train of thought there. So, yeah, height. So the field of view is 143 degrees, I think, and it's got a pretty wide up and down. So just like I can see, the ceiling, the camera's going to see that too. So it's not such a close-up frame shot that you wouldn't be able to see it like a height difference like you're talking about. So this is a really, really pared down PowerPoint of what we trained our officers on, and this is what they were all trained on. They got an overview, how to operate the body cam. There are some features that we also purchased with this, the Respond and Respond Plus. I'll go over. We talked with them about the mounts and all these different things, and I'm going to touch on some of these for you guys real quick. So basically on the overview, and this is what I talked about, it's got a 12-hour battery life under normal operating conditions. They consider normal operating conditions not extreme hot, not extreme cold, roughly 1 hour of recording and 11 hours of standby. They can record longer, but that's all they say that they're good for. But they actually, the guy that instructed me used to run it for another police department in New Mexico, and they had a body cam fall off during an inventory of a motorhome and get locked up for evidence. And when they finally got it out, it had 10 hours of video, so they'll record for quite a while. The IP67 rating is 1 meter of water for 15 minutes and a 6-foot drop. They're weather resistant. So this does have GPS, which it goes along with the response system, and also there's a way to upload video from the field rather than docking it. It just uses the cell phone signal that the LTE connectivity has. And the multicam playback is a way for the supervisors or whoever to watch the video, and they can link. If you have more than one officer, they can link the videos and they'll synchronize so that if one officer didn't start his till a minute later, it won't start till that first video gets to a minute. And the dash cams can be multicam with that. So, just real quick, this house, we have a buffering mode on this. So right now, this body cam is turned on, powered on. So it is recording, but it's recording video only, not audio. So that when the officer starts his video recording, that's when the audio will start, and there will be a 30-second buffer of video without audio. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. There's a lot of videos out there you can watch, and you can see, things happen, and he didn't get a chance to start his video right away, but then the buffer catches that. So I'm going to skip this video for time. This just shows a reason for the buffer, unless you guys want to see it. 2 minutes, maybe a minute. All right, let's do that. So this is in Baltimore. They are chasing a suspect who they know to be armed. This officer is running, trying to cut him off. And he's got his body cam on, but not actively recording. This is the buffer that you're seeing. And that's why there's no audio. This, in the upper right-hand corner, you can see when this happened, and it says Axon Body 2. And so you can see he finds a suspect, and the suspect gets shot. Now he starts his body cam, and we don't have the audio. So there is audio right now in this video. The reason that there's a 30-second buffer is, if you keep watching, they're going to show you in slow motion what the actual officer saw, and you'll see why there was an officer-involved shooting. I started to mention before, this is a body cam 2 video. Ours are body cam 3s, and they have included a video stabilization, so you don't get quite as much bouncing. And so I don't know if you saw that when that suspect ran around the corner, he had a gun in his hand. And, if we didn't have that buffer, the video would have started after the suspect was shot and down on the ground, and there would be no video evidence to show that this is why this happened. So that's why we do the buffering. So, like I said, the officers start the recording now. When we do get the fleet system, there will be triggers in the fleet system that will trigger the body cams to automatically start recording. Right now, just the taser, and we are getting, they're called signal sidearms, so that if a gun is drawn from a holster, there's a sensor you put on their holster. So when the gun is withdrawn from the holster, it'll send out that signal, and any body cam will start recording. So what the officer does is there's a big button on the front. They can't miss it. All they got to do is hit it twice. And I don't know if you could hear that, but there was a beep. that lets them know that they are recording. Oops, let me turn that up. So Chief Matthias has decided these lights on the front that are red, he wants those on so the public knows we're recording. It's not a secret. We're not trying to keep it from you. This is what we're doing. If it's red, it's recording. The officer those can be turned off, but Chief Matthias has elected to have them on for transparency reasons. So there's also a red light on top for the officer to see if those lights weren't on. So once he starts the recording, it'll record continuously until it's turned off or the battery dies. Every 2 minutes, it'll notify the officer if he forgets to turn it off. He's done with the call and he forgets to turn off. It'll notify the officer. It'll beep and vibrate every 2 minutes that it's recording. So there is that signal. So then all they got to do is hold the button down for 3 seconds, and the recording stops. This is that signal. Excuse me. Signal technology I was talking about. So in the cars, when the certain triggers are set, there's a whole list of things we can set to set the triggers. We haven't got it installed yet, so I don't know what all of them are, but it sends out that signal, and any body cam within Bluetooth range will activate. The same with the taser, like I told you about. If the taser gets activated, it sends out that signal, and it will activate not only the body cam, but any dash cam within its Bluetooth range. And the same with the signal sidearm, which is what we'll be getting here. When that is drawn, it'll activate. So the Respond and Respond Plus, we have the Respond Plus. The only difference is Respond Plus has what's called Live View. What this is we have the ability to pull up the Respond software and view where by GPS this body cam is, so we can see where the officer is. So if the officer's in trouble, or if they're doing something tactically that command staff wants to monitor or whatever, they can do that. The Respond Plus also has a live view that only command staff has access to, that they can, if the body cam is recording, they can access what the video that it's seeing. So this is just telling you that it gives that real-time situational awareness. And I'm not sure if you were aware, but we were training today on active shooter for the schools. And that would be a good time if we had officers respond to an active shooter, and we have multiple officers go there. Command staff can get on and see what this officer is seeing in real time. So, if you got an officer somewhere else, in real time, we can put it on the radio, the other officer's here, go over there, those kind of things. So there's a lot of advantages to this Respond and Respond Plus. And I'm going to show you, if we have enough time, the live stream. This is going over, I'm sorry, this is an app that the officer can download onto their phone. They can pair their camera with their phone, and then what they can do is any videos they record, they can look at and view. So if they're out in the field and they're typing their report and they need to review something to make their report accurate, they can look at it on their phone and view that video. They can also do a live stream of their camera, so it helps them place the camera in the optimal spot. So if they place it somewhere without live viewing it, and it's being blocked by something, they can see that on that app. And they can also adjust the settings of the body cam. And this is just showing you a list. When they open up that view, it shows all the list of all the different videos. All they got to do is select it. They can add the report number, the categories that we have for retention categories and stuff like that, all from that app. And then Axon View XL is just the desktop version of that, except it doesn't have the live view. So if they come on station, every report computer has this software installed, this Axon View XL. They can just plug their camera in, and they can review their video. They can also add their case numbers and categories right there on station. And this also has the ability to view what is called the video recall. and I'm going to go over that here in just a minute. They can also upload their videos from this Axon View XL without docking it. And then here's the video recall. So what the video recall is, just like the buffering system. I'm sorry, I keep walking away from the mic. It's my instructor in me, so I apologize. So the video recall is recording all the time, just like the buffer. Just video, no audio. And it records for 18 hours, but it records in 30-minute blocks. So those can be recalled and reviewed. The purpose of this is if something happens and the officer never got an opportunity to activate his body cam, we can go back up to 18 hours and see if there's something, like an officer gets ambushed sitting in his car. We can go back and look and see if there's some kind of evidence. The fleet system, when we get that installed, will have a 24-hour buffer for the video recall. And so the regular video records in 720 HD. The video recall only records in 420 standard definition and no video. And all the videos are tagged with a video recall, so it can't be used against somebody for ill-gotten purposes. There's a reason for all of that. And when command staff accesses that, they have to give a reason they're accessing it. So. And then the docking station, I kind of mentioned those. We have 10 of those docking stations. They charge and upload all the videos, and any firmware updates are sent through the dock. Axon Capture is another software the officers can download on their phone. What they can do is they can use it to take pictures of anything on scene and upload it automatically to evidence.com. Nothing's stored on their phone. It's an easy way to get videos into the report without having to take pictures, take the memory card, put it in a box, have the secretary come and grab it and download them. It's all right there. They can download photos, audios, and video. And then the community request is, these are things, if they've taken pictures or whatever, then they mark which ones they want them to go up to the evidence.com. Community request takes the place of, do you have Ring doorbell footage of this? Can you record it and get it to me and I'll come by and pick it up, or can you bring it to the station? What this is, do you have Ring doorbell video? Oh, good. Here, let me send you a link and you can just send it, basically like email and send it to us. Like when we have shoplifting cases at Walmart and they want to send us their video of in-store, they have to go and look at it, then they put it on a disc and bring it to us, and then we have to put it all in evidence. So we can just send them a link and say, send it here. It's already tagged with the case number and the category that it falls under, and it takes a lot of steps out of there and it makes it a lot easier. Yes, sir.
That's a voluntary request, correct?
Yes. Yeah. It's not something you're going to say, you need to send me this. This is all, if you have it, can you send it to me? I can send you a link to do it. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Yes. And this is what they get. They get a request. They select what they're going to send. They can select what pictures they want to send. And all they do is submit it. And it says thank you. And that's all they do on their phone. Uploads directly to axonevidence.com, and then the officer is going to be required to what they call triage it. In other words, make sure that this is something that we need. This is, if I asked for if you have video of your driveway and they send me video of, their bathroom, we don't need that, So, and that's what the triage will do for us. And that's all I had on that end. So if let me show you guys and gals. There's an app. I'm going to walk away from the mic. Is that going to be okay? They can download on their phone these apps, and that Axon View. I'm sorry, my glasses are in my hand. There they are. And it connects to my camera. Once it does, yeah, it says it's not paired with it says it wasn't paired with my phone. So let me pair it real quick. I apologize. So it's connecting to the camera I just had. and then it's looking for any evidence. That video I just recorded a minute ago when I turned that on shows up on my list. And if I had more than one, it would show up on the list. And I can view it right from my phone, and I can write my report based on that. What this also has, and I can add what they call metadata, is the category, the case number, and things like that. And then, my clothes. My apologies. They have, come on. There it is. So this is the live view, and then I can see right what I'm looking at. I don't know, can you guys see that okay? Yeah. So they can be able to place their cameras in a good spot, and they see exactly what it's seeing in real time. So that's really.
So will you have, talking with other officers who use cameras, they said they carry some kind of stick that uses the mount, so if they're in a situation where they want to see around a corner, and they can.
So our emergency response team has talked about getting. Axon sells mounts. They're called GoPro mounts, but they will mount on like what you're talking about, poles for that. And we can buy different mounts for different applications. I mean, we just have to pay for them as all, and we can buy them one at a time if we want. But yeah, they do sell those, and I know our ERT commander has talked about looking into getting some of those.
How many of these cameras does the department have, will have?
Right now we have 69 cameras. Our authorized strength is 67, and that gives us a 2-camera buffer in case the one goes bad. So with our contract with them, if one goes bad, we initiate a RMA, send it back to them, and they'll send us a new one. But we need a camera in the meantime. That's why we have that buffer.
Is that one for every officer?
Yes. Right now it's actually gives us more than just the 2 buffer because we're not at full strength. So, yes.
And so then the officer has one specific camera, and it's
dedicated-
always.
Absolutely.
Okay.
On the back of every camera, there's a sticker, and they'll have a unit number, and that's who that camera belongs to. Now, the sergeants have the ability to use an app called Device Manager, and if that camera needs to be assigned to somebody else, they can go in and assign it right then on the spot. So even though this is my camera, if Chief Matthias had to use it, we could assign it to him, and then all the videos would be in his name. If they're not able to assign it, because it is only sergeants and above, so if they have an officer in charge, not a sergeant, he won't have the ability to do that. But then we can go back in each video on evidence.com and reassign that to the officer that actually recorded that.
Any issues with the police union implementing these?
No, none at all. Actually, I haven't heard any negative. Everybody wanted them because one of our old guys who actually is retired now and on auxiliary has said, I wish I'd have had those before because every officer complaint I ever got could have been vindicated. So,
you're talking about cell phones. Are those city issued cell phones or are those personal cell phones?
They're personal cell phones.
Do we reimburse the officers for use of those phones?
The department does a partial reimbursement if they apply for it. It's not a full pay for your whole phone bill, but they do a partial reimbursement if the officer chooses to do that. It's voluntary.
You had talked about the 2-minute alarm, like if somebody forgot to shut it off.
Yes.
Let's say you're in a very quiet zone and you don't want that alarm going off and letting them know where you're at.
Yeah. So, and I didn't mention as well, that brings up a good point. These do have stealth mode. I did tell you that the Chief Matthias has said he wanted the red on, but there are going to be times when we don't want those on. The officers have the ability to turn that off. And it's called stealth mode. It turns the lights, the sound, and the vibrations off so they can be completely quiet and be tactical. If they have to go clear a building or something, they don't want somebody to hear them. So the answer is they won't know until they go to start another video, and they're going to have an hour-long video. When we did the trial, we had in our cars where a guy parked his car and it recorded for like 8 hours. It was the end of his shift, until the next guy came in. So it's going to happen, but. Yeah.
So, how does the Axon system interface with our existing records reporting, records management?
So the only interaction right now that it has is called auto tagging, and when the officer is dispatched to a call, it creates a incident in our CAD system, and then this auto tagging that it's 30 minutes after every shift ends, it runs a check of the CAD system, and it looks for all the videos that got uploaded, and it checks all the CAD calls. If any of the GPS information, the latitude and longitude matches up, or just the street names, and the videos were started within the time frame of that incident, it will match them up and tag it automatically with that case number and that incident category.
So then, do you expect this to have a positive effect on like the shift reporting or the evidence case writing up? Because my understanding that takes a lot of time and effort, and does this change how that is done?
Actually, that's a really good question, because I forgot to mention that what we also got with this was auto transcribe. And what it does is it takes that video and makes a transcription of all the audio that it hears. And some of it's not always 100% correct, but it's pretty close. And it gives them, the officers, the opportunity to get it right. Maybe they may spend just a little more time because they're going to review something, but I think it's going to make it easier and make our reporting more accurate.
Okay.
There's also, with that auto transcribe, we also got, I forget what they name it, but it's a voice transcription. So the officer can actually speak and it'll write his report as opposed to doing the typing. And there's a couple of guys that have used it during the trial that really liked it. So they're not very good typers.
Go ahead, Grant.
Chief, want to give you a question.
Sure.
How does this play or interact, or what's CALEA's effect on this? I know CALEA says you have to have a standard and you follow the standard. So I take it there's been a whole new set of standards and things that now CALEA will judge us against. Could you?
Right. Yeah, as far as CALEA goes, there was already basically that policy model set up. So we looked at other policies that are already out there. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel, but taking a look at other kind of larger departments, we looked at Columbus, we looked at State Highway Patrol, Toledo's, some other various departments, but we mirrored kind of their policies to fit what we wanted to see locally here and that. So that CALEA just puts us in a better situation as far as having that all documented, all squared away, and then it just for the national accreditation and that. So I mean, it's going to be seamless, and it just holds us more accountable and more transparency as we move forward.
The training that has gone into maintaining our CALEA accreditation, that training mechanism goes into into the usage of this, and we say that we're tagging metadata in such and such a way. Are we requiring officers to have available the cell phone application and to use it, or is that?
No, that like I say, that's just optional. That's more of a contractual issue, that as far as if they want the reimbursement, once they come back on station, they have that ability to watch that video on station and that. So it just gives them that extra layer. If they do take that reimbursement, they have it. The CALEA part is just showing that proofs and that. So if they needed to show the video and the training videos, there'll be certain proofs that we have to show that CALEA validation and stuff. But the cell phones, that won't be an issue there at all in that. So there may be actually more people that want to sign up for that partial reimbursement that we have to budget for, but that cost is minor compared to the whole grand scheme of things.
Thank you. And are there any, Mr. Hellman?
I should probably know this.
but can you refresh my memory? You mentioned that we were on a 5-year lease on these things, so we are leasing all this equipment,
Right. Well,
not purchasing it.
we purchased. I mean, it is a purchase and that. So, but it's part of the contract is that every 30 months the cameras are basically obsolete. So with new data, new updates and that, so they'll replace the cameras after 30 months for the body worn system. For the patrol cars, it's basically a one-time installation and that, so it covers it all and that. So, but at the end of that I guess in theory it's a lease, because at the end of that 5 years that contract is done and stuff, and that equipment is basically done. But the body worn cameras itself would be changed out at the end of that 5 years. So if you do re-up with Axon, you just roll into the next, whether it's a 5-year contract or 4 years. We haven't gone down that path, but most of them have been a 5-year contract with Axon.
And they then replace the cameras at that point in time.
Yeah, they would replace it at the end of our current contract. So if we would go into another 5-year contract, it would start out, and then they would replace it halfway through, and then it would just be a continuous cycle. So in theory, you're going into it as a long-term investment as far as a body-worn camera project if you're staying with the same company. If you're basically going to get out of Axon and go to Motorola or whatever other company, then you have to start all over. But Axon, I guess that's one thing that wasn't mentioned. Axon is all cloud-based for their technology, so it takes our computer services out of the equation. If there's a lost video or any type of service on that end, it's all based on Axon. We direct it to them. They're the ones that fix that problem. It's not the city's issue and stuff for liability, and you're hiding a video. It's Axon, not us. So I mean, everything's cloud based.
And one last thing, do you remember what this costs the city on an annualized basis or total contract or something like that? I'm just curious more.
Yeah, I did bring it in case it came up. The first year, I say it was the total price was $141,995.89.
$141,000 for the 5-year period?
That's for year one, and it breaks it down, and then each year there was, I want to either say it was a 3% or a 5%.
I'll just add a little. So every year it's the first year is 141,000, but if you recall, 91,000 is actually a reimbursement fund through the OCJS, acronyms for everything. And then we also applied some ARPA funds to that. So the capital ask out of the capital improvement was about 25,000 year one. And then every year after that, there is an incremental increase, but it's about 147 year two, 153 year three, 160 year four, and 166 year five. And that's for the body cameras. And then it's a aligned contract with the dash cams, and it's about 55,000 a year. So, and the way we structured that is year one of these comes out of capital, and then after we've established it, year one, then it rolls into operating the following years. So, and we're optimistic that, that we can go after some more grant funding year over year. The budget came out from the state. We're optimistic, but there's no guarantee. But if they come about, we will be applying for those, and hopefully we can get more funding to support this.
Thank you.
Mr. Russell.
Chief, can you speak towards two related things? So once the case is created, this is the camera footage is evidence. Do you know how that plays into the prosecution side of things, or use either for defense or for prosecution, or how we are managing that access to that information for attorneys?
Yeah. Actually, it's been a seamless project so far. State Patrol has had theirs up and running, I want to say at least half the year, so probably since January-ish for all of this year. So they are with Axon as well. So it's the same process as what we have. All three prosecutors, juvenile, law director, and common pleas all have an evidence count through Axon. So anything that, as far as body cam, ringtone that they mentioned, all that evidence is stored with an account. So we have an account, the prosecutor's office has an account, so we don't have to burn CDs or thumb drives and all that stuff. Everything is right at the prosecutor's accounts, and they can share that evidence seamlessly with prosecutors, defense counsels.
May I just add to that real quick? We have, as the police department, we have control over whether or not they see it, though. We have to say, I want the prosecutor to see this. I have to share it with them. They do have an evidence.com account where all they got to do then is go in and look at it. But because we are control the chain of custody, we are the ones that say, yes, you can see this.
That's part of the redacting and all that as well. So, I mean, you take an hour-long video, and basically it's could there be 30 minutes worth of good evidence in that, or good value of quality video.
Mr. Russell?
And so the flip side of that, because that recording is a record, is like how do you see us handling the open records request for, I want to see Officer Smith's video or recordings for the night of, Thursday, June 10th?
Well, that'd be another one that's, instead of going through our records division, it'll be handled through Sergeant Walters on that. So it'll come in basically the same way as far as a records request. Sergeant Walters will review it, and then again, it'll be a redacted version that gets sent out to them, but they receive a link, and then it's good for so many days, and that 3 days, I believe.
3 days to access the link.
To access the link and that. So, and then eventually it goes. I mean, they only have it for that period of time. But
are you anticipating a spike of open records requests?
We just don't know how many. I mean, they said it just depends on the community, but I think the community has wanted the police department to have this technology for a while. So I do believe that citizens and obviously the defense attorneys will want. But I think we'll have a good amount of open requests in that at the beginning.
Well, defense attorneys is a different story than a concerned citizen or a citizen who just wants to see the traffic stop that took place in front of their.
And I expect us to put out on our Facebook site as well and stuff. Positive interactions with the community and stuff like that as well. So I mean, it goes both ways, but I think we'll get a large amount. Right now we just have Sergeant Walters and then a backup when he's not here now, but that's going to be determined whether he's going to need some more help on those type of requests, because he's going to be fulfilling the prosecutors. But yes, we're going to see how many open requests we get as well.
But are we putting in place a process to accept that open records request from the public and then make sure that we're tracking the compliance to it and the timelines and things, so we have that in place before we go live?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
One more question.
If I may.
Go ahead.
All these questions bring up another issue. Can any individual ask for recordings and records? I mean, a person that's sitting in their kitchen listening to the police radio and they say, I wonder what happened there. Can they call down and ask for this videos?
They can. It just has to go through the steps of doing an open records request.
Good Lord, you might be really.
It's my understanding there is no scanner anymore for police calls, is there?
That is true. Yes. There's times that we do go off.
Mr. Russell, can you lay out the timeline from here to implementation and what implementation looks like? Is it a quote unquote the big bang? We hit a date and everybody has cameras. Are you phasing them in, and what that timeline looks like?
When we do an official rollout, we want to go basically live on a Monday, so we have staff here through the work week and that, and we're ready to go. Like I said, we have all of our personnel trained in that. A lot of it was done departmental training and making sure everybody that wasn't there got the training that they needed before we was ready to go live. But that was done in basically late July, and we're just waiting for to make sure that you guys were fully aware, and then basically send it out to the media and that. So with the mayor and service director's approval and your guys' approval to make sure everybody's on the same page and that, we just want to make sure that we're doing the proper steps and doing the right things for the community.
We went from a holding pattern, waiting for Ethernet cables and infrastructure to be installed to a few minor details with training to ready to go. And we're at that ready to go phase. But it was important to inform you all and have you understand this to the level that hopefully you do now. But if you walk away and you have further questions or people come to you, by all means, continue to ask questions, shoot emails, give a call. We want to be as transparent with this and forward as this is possible. So if Chief and Eddie say we're ready to go Monday, then I don't see why we can't go live this coming Monday. But it was important for you all to get exposed to this. But again, it was hurry up and wait, and now we're ready to go. So
is that what you're saying? Monday, August 14th, we'll be live with this?
we can't absolutely.
We could. It was a conversation that we was waiting basically for the mayor and Rob to make sure that you guys were satisfied, but we're ready to go on any Monday that everyone feels comfortable.
I will circle back and I will send a email to all of you, but yes, I anticipate in the next week or so we are going to go live.
So that's a maybe. Mr. Russell.
So, Rob, is there a media campaign that is coming with the go live of this?
So there will be media releases. Chief Matthias, I don't know why I just almost said Chief Everly. I don't know. Chief Matthias actually, was it last week or 2 weeks?
Yeah,
last week. Threw him out there, and he was actually able to get on the radio with one of our local media personalities and actually did a live demo for her. Shorter version of this, and so kind of introduced it to the community on the radio. But again, we are going to continue to roll this out through social media, through the paper, etc. But again, wanted to start here.
And if you guys want to operate it, you're more than welcome to test them out here in the next few minutes just to see how they operate. They're very easy to use and very cop-proof, rugged, and durability. So. Thank you very much.
I think I shut mine off here accidentally. With that, thank you, Sergeant and Chief. I think the public and us, administration and council, have been looking forward to this, and we look forward to hearing from you maybe with an update and after it's been running for a while. So,
very good. Yes,
with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Baumann, second Mr. Greeno. All those in favor of adjournment say aye. Any opposed, nay. We are adjourned.